What's your favorite fun fact about the human body? When a baby is born, their blood volume is comparable to a can of soda. Cracking open a cold one with the boys. You can suffer so much injury that your body is like, whoa, what the frick? Shut down everything, then you go to sleep for a while until your body thinks it won't die the second it wakes up. Had this happen last year when I had the flu. I passed out in the hall and broke my glasses. Later my doc said it was my body's way of taking 5. A sunburn is basically your skin cells realizing they've become mutated, and then killing themselves so as not to spread the mutation and make way for new cells. They basically commit suicide for the good of the colony. Unless one of them doesn't, and then you have cancer. Your stomach constantly produces layers of mucus so it doesn't digest itself. Tell me something else I don't know. Something less disturbing. That without its lens, the human eye can see some of the UV spectrum. I had the lens in my right eye removed and I can 100% confirm this. Seeing those black lights is kinda trippy. The human body has a diving reflex that allows us to hold our breaths longer underwater than on land. There's a lot more to it, but 2 of the major changes when you are submerged in water are that your heartbeat slows and your blood vessels in your extremities contract. As a result of those and many other reactions, your body uses less oxygen and you can go longer before taking another breath. My personal favorite thing about this fact is that my 6-year-old taught me about it. I thought it sounded silly and said, "No, you can't really hold your breath longer in water." He insisted he learned it in school, so I looked it up and stood corrected. Well, my body seems to be a version behind everyone else's. You're just a little bit taller in the morning than you are at night. Spinal compression from gravity. When we're born, our larynx is in a higher position in our throat. This allows a baby to nurse without suffocating. After a few months, it drops to a lower position. This allows for babies to begin to learn how to talk. Unfortunately, this also causes them to be able to choke on food. So when someone says that they hate when something goes down the wrong pipe or think it's dumb that we can suffocate on food, you can let them know that without that design flaw we wouldn't be able to talk like we do. I've always wondered if there was something wrong with me because I choke on food, spit water so regularly, but now I at least know it lets me talk, so I guess it's a decent trade-off. When you breathe out through your nose, you're supposed to smell the scent of your lungs. However, your body is so used to the smell that it ignores it. Similarly, the taste of your gums, teeth, and saliva is also ignored. People on average fart approximately 12 times and expel 1 liter of intestinal gas per day. I once ate nothing but soup for lunch for a week, and on the Thursday I went out with some friends for the evening and had to excuse myself and go home because my lower gut hurt so much that I thought I was gonna pee fizzy gravy out of my butt. When I got home I went for a poop and farted for half a minute straight. It was astounding, cathartic and really impressive. You will continue to bite your tongue despite the fact it has been in your mouth since before your birth. Familiarity breeds contempt. Under the age of about 5, we are starfish. If you cut off the tip of a finger, above that first knuckle, it will grow back completely normal, nail and all. Source: my 2-year-old accidentally got his finger slammed in a shut door. It took the tip off and broke the bone. We held pressure to stop the hemorrhage, stuck the tip on ice, rushed to the ear and they couldn't reattach it. I was so sad that his wedding ring finger would be permanently disfigured. Saw the plastic surgeon 2 days later who said to change the wound dressing twice a day, and no surgery was needed because it would regenerate itself. Could not believe him. Son of a bitch. It grew back completely normal, nail and all, and now I have to remind myself which finger it was because I can't tell the difference. The best man in my wedding was called Tips because he lost his fingertips in some freak sanding or saw accident when he was a kid and they grew back. Good old Tips. The average boner uses about 2 tablespoons of blood to become erect, and about the same amount of blood is in a gerbil. Great, now every time I get a boner I'll be thinking about gerbils. If you took all your blood vessels out of your body, tied them together and stretched into a straight line, it would wrap around the earth 2.5 times. Don't try this at home though. Instructions unclear. Butthole is now swallowing Mars. pruny fingers at the bath? It's a nerve response. People with nerve damage don't get their fingers wrinkled. 1. There will never be a cure for the common cold because the common cold isn't a single virus. It's many different viruses that share the property of being basically harmless, but will still make your immune system go batshit. They're basically an allergen at the cellular level. 2. Your immune system has blind spots to keep itself from attacking the body's own tissues. One of the most notable blind spots is the inside of your eyes, in which the outer layer of your eyes protects the inside from your own immune system. If you ever get an injury that penetrates that outer layer, your immune system will actually start to destroy your eye. To add on to blind spots, sperm is made later in a boy's life and his own immune system will seek it out and destroy it since it thinks it is a foreign object. Therefore the male reproductive system has safeguards in place to prevent sperm from ever being exposed to an immune response from itself. You know how some people will fall asleep while traveling almost immediately? Well, it's a form of motion sickness. Instead of throwing up, some people will fall into a coma-like sleep. Both sleeping and throwing up are caused by the same thing though. The body thinks it's been poisoned. So if you have motion sickness and hate throwing up, try to get yourself to fall asleep instead. More than likely, you will actually fall asleep and be fine when the journey ends. First off, I'm not a doctor. The following was explained to me when I volunteered at a hospice. A doctor simplified this so anyone could understand. The brain is a wonderful thing. It will do everything it can to prevent you from dying. When you are dying slowly, say from a terminal illness maybe, when your brain realizes something is wrong it immediately goes into lifeboat mode, so it decides where the blood should go. Have you ever noticed that people in palliative care don't want to eat? It's mostly because the brain understands you can go like a month without eating. Your stomach is important, but if its main function is to digest food and tell you when you're hungry, and not to keep you alive, then it loses some of the regular blood flow to other more vital organs like the brain and lungs. You can't live without eating, but in the short term you can go a while without it. As your days become more and more numbered, your senses will start failing you ultimately because the brain is having to keep you alive by taking blood away from various things and sending it to the more vital parts. Your brain loves you. Take care of it. I guess this is why people usually know when they are about to die. Adrenaline is one heck of a drug. Our muscles work at a fraction of their total capacity and adrenaline pretty much lifts off these blocks, but it can cause damage. One for all. You cannot intentionally track an imaginary moving object with smooth and continuous eye motion. You have to actually see a moving object for this to be possible. What the actual heck? I've always thought that it is strange that our brain controls everything in our body, but when something hurts or we are ill, we do not know what exactly hurts without medical research. It's like our brain knows everything and at the same time nothing. I bet the brain knows, it's just keeping things from us. A woman's ovaries produce all the eggs she'll ever have while still in utero. So when my mother was carrying me, she was also carrying the egg that became my daughter. I tried explaining this to my mother-in-law on the birth of her first grandchild. She either couldn't wrap her head around it or wanted to deny all responsibility for making the egg that created the kid. There are more bacteria cells than human cells in your body, so really, at a cellular level, you're more bacteria than person. My ex was right. When a person is first conceived and forming as a person, the first thing to form on the fetus is a little tube from one side of the bundle of cells to the other. This will go on to become the GI tract, with each end being the mouth and anus. At one time we were all nothing more than a mouth and a butthole. And some people still haven't changed a bit. In much the same way that everyone has their own fingerprints and retinal patterns, every anus is unique. Just think, in another few years, we might be securing our data with an entirely new process. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing a hentai video where a nun signs a contract with her anus. When a baby drinks their mother's breast milk, and let's just say this baby has an iron deficiency, the breast will pick this up through leftover saliva and make more iron for the baby. This happens with most things babies need. I just chose iron as an example. As you're reading this, it's likely that your tongue is currently suctioned to the roof of your mouth. Take your upvote and get out of here, you demon. Babies have more bones than adults. The human dong has rifling. You probably have a small amount of either Neanderthal or Denisovan genes. 1. Technically speaking, your heart is capable of regenerating itself. Newborn baby's heart can do it, but we lose this ability when we grow up. Lots of scientists around the world are working on why we lose that ability. One hypothesis is that our blood pressure is blocking new heart cells production. 2. You can live normally with half your brain removed. Brain plasticity is amazing and is the reason why you can learn new stuff even when old. The plasticity is better when you're younger, but still, in some diseases, like some epileptical syndrome, you need to remove huge chunks of the brain, sometimes a whole hemisphere. If done right and on young patients, the kids will recover motricity, speech, and will have no visible cognitive defects. They'll still have a limp, a blind eye, and one non-functioning arm, but they'd still be able to live a normal life. Not so much a biological fact, but more of an evolutionary historical fact. So a few million years back, the Mediterranean Sea was very shallow. It was essentially two small seas separated by land between Italy and northern Africa. The one thing holding back the waters of the Atlantic was Gibraltar. Well, one day Gibraltar gave. Water began rapidly flooding east, filling the Mediterranean basin with seawater. Now back then, Africa was a very lush, green place, but the extreme change in sea level around the world caused a huge shift in global wind patterns. Africa got real cold, and all the plant life started dying. This had a drastic effect on the wildlife of the region, including some weird little simian mammals in the east that lived in the trees. The trees started coming down, and with them, the mammals. They had to find food somehow, right? The little mammals started wandering around on the ground, picking up food with their neat opposable thumbs and making rudimentary tools out of rock shards and stuff. But the ground is no place for a primate, not unless it's got a way to escape the wildcats and other predators chasing it around. So the mammals had to get real good at running. They became completely bipedal, standing almost entirely upright, and became masters of endurance running. One of the big reasons they were able to do this is because of the development of two large posterior muscles where the legs met the pelvis. These muscles are now known anatomically as gluteus maximus, colloquially referred to as butt or butt cheeks. The random collapse of a single rock formation in southwestern Europe, northwestern Africa is solely responsible for the existence of butt cheeks. Thanks random rock formation for making me THICC. The scrotum exists because sperm are not effectively produced at the standard human body temperature of 98.6 degrees F. That's why when it's hot your balls drop. It keeps the joules away from your internal body heat. When it's too cold, your sac shrivels up to retain enough warmth to continue sperm production. Semen ejaculates at 27 miles per hour, making it illegal in school zones. Your organs are doing all that crap in the dark. Babies are not born with kneecaps, which is probably why walking is difficult. If a woman only has one fallopian tube but two functioning ovaries, the fallopian tube is able to reach over and collect the egg from both ovaries. That the little hairs in your cochlea, organ responsible for hearing, are connected by little strings called tip links. When you leave a loud sporting event or concert and your hearing is muffled or stuffy sounding, it's because the tip link's broken, the hairs have fallen over. When you wake up the next day and your hearing is back to normal, is because the tip links grew back together and put the hairs back in the correct position. Brain organ itself cannot feel pain, but it can feel the pain from all other parts of the bodies. Your tongue never fits perfectly in your mouth. Your skin is the largest organ in your body. Brain freeze can be stopped by simply pressing your tongue against the roof of your mouth. We are slowly evolving out of our wisdom teeth. About 35% of people are born without them, if I remember correctly. Unfortunately for me, I was not one of those lucky people. Now you have to not reproduce to fulfill your part in evolution. We are the only animal on the planet whose anuses are, most of the time, covered by our butt cheeks. Every day, your body kills off a cell that could have been cancer. Not so much biological, but we are all made of stardust. All the heavy elements in our body exist because the stars exploded and formed them, which in turn formed us. You've been visited by the banana guardian. He will protect you and all of your bananas, but only if you comment "protect us mighty doggo." If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.